Can you tell us a little bit of a history behind Lacquer? How old is this beautiful studio, and what makes this studio so special?
So Lacquer Channel is probably one of the oldest mastering studios that we know, probably in Canada, and if not, like at least on this continent. It's been open since 1975, and then they moved in this building, this facility in 1988. It's changed owners a few years, but it's been the same owner, who you've interviewed, Noah Mintz, since 2001.
Everybody knows Noah, yeah,
Everybody
sure.
knows Noah, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been pretty much like a staple in the Canadian music industry when it comes to mastering since 75. We're celebrating the 50 years next year, which is really like crazy for a studio to be that old and still be around. Awesome. Yeah, some of the gear here, especially on the table here, has been here since day one. I was told the Sontec. So the EQ at the bottom with like all the colorful knobs, that one has been here since pretty much the studio has opened. Has been turned off only a few times when it needs to be recalibrated or, but it's been on pretty much since 1975, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. And yeah, it's a fantastic room, very well treated, speakers custom made. I'm sure Noah told you all about it.
Yeah.
Takes you back in time, which I really
feels
like.
like it.
It has a very cozy, comfortable, homey feel to it with like all these colors and everything.
All right, Thomas, why don't you take us around Lacquer Channel mastering? Show us what you got.
Sounds good. So we have a bunch of very funky, crazy looking gear, right? So I guess we can start here. So this is a Pultec stereo panner. Pultec circuitry original. I think that belonged to Noble Studios in Toronto. Noah acquired it. Just below it, we have a Dolby spatial processor. I have to be honest, I don't know how to wrap my head around this thing, so I never use it. Then we have Minimassive EQ by Manley. So it's a sub-brand of Manley called Langevin. Sounds very sweet. Knobs are like very, very pretty looking. Then we have some APIs 550M. So they may look familiar to a bunch of producers and engineers. The volume steps, instead of being in increments of 2 dBs, it's an increment of 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2 1/4, and 3 dBs. There's basically no documentation about it online because these are prototypes. So there's probably like 20, 30 like that in existence. And we have a pair here. Avalon, do we need to introduce this brand? They're pretty well known. So this is the 747 SP. So it's compressor, graphic EQ, it has tubes, can just run through the tubes and it opens up a mix like you wouldn't believe. SPL Pass EQ, use this one a lot in midside because it's very clean. Not as surgical as other EQs, but just for the cleanliness and wanting to make unbiased decisions or tweaks. We have this thing that has a very funky name. It's Sonic Farm Creamliner. So it's a saturation tool. Here we have a mastering EQ as well, so we have a few bands. So sub, which is sub frequencies 40 all the way up. DBX de-esser limiters. So the de-esser, it removes sibilances or high end. I think these were used when Lacquer Channel used to have the lacquer cutting machines for vinyl. So it was used to tame the high end to make sure the stylus doesn't go crazy. Over here we have some incredible pieces of gear. So we have this Neve EQ. So for those of you who know the Neve 1073 EQ, this is basically the mastering stereo version. There's probably like 20 like that in the world. And the last time one came on the market was I think like a year and a half ago, something like that. When I started, I know on Reverb there was one, and I won't say the price here because it's absolutely hysterical. Terry CEQ, fantastic EQ. It's the one I use all the time in conjunction with the Sontec. It's very satisfying to tweak. Whether it's in stereo or mid-side, it's an absolute phenomenal EQ. Sontec, which is considered the holy grail of mastering EQs. It's been around forever. Every mastering studio have one, and for a good reason. It sounds really damn good. It's absolutely fantastic sounding. Over here we have the Rupert Neve Master Bus Transformer. So it's just a bunch of transformers. We have an input section, EQ, a color, which is like a compressor with like some saturation, with the Super Silk, which is a Rupert Neve's trademark saturation tool, I guess, and the output. And each of these stages have a transformer, so it colors the sound like crazy. Another Bax EQ right here. We have a GML EQ. We have an ITI EQ. Lots of EQs. This is the EQ hub. And then on this sidecar here is all the compressors. So this is just a filler. It's an Eve patch bay, which I think is really freaking cool. Better Maker bus compressor. Two Titan, Dave Hill Titan compressors linked at the back, so they're working together. They're two separate units, but they're working together. One and only API 2500 plus. And then here we have the Maselec, which is a high frequency limiter as well, similar to the DBX, but where the DBX on this rack was more for vinyl, this is more, we use it like as a mastering tool. Some Neumann EQs at the bottom here, and then we have our ADC, analog to digital converter, the DCS.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, pleasure.
A little bit about the speakers.
Speakers, I don't know all the details about it. All I know is that they're custom made and fine-tuned for the room, and they're also positioned and angled very specifically so that the best listening position is right here, which is what you want. Fine-tuned for the room, so they work in this room and nowhere else. And yeah, and then we have the Ampex ATR 102 tape machine right here. These days mostly used for tape transfer. So when we have old tape reels that are coming here, we transfer them into Pro Tools as a digital format. And then either they're mastered here or they're mastered elsewhere. Depends on what the artist or client wants.
Sure. Yeah.
Pleasure. It's a cool room, isn't it?